Friends, this week's Torah portion, taken from the 11th through the 16th chapter in the book of Deuteronomy, is named Re'eh, meaning see, S-E-E, for the first word in the first sentence of the portion. See, Re'eh, I have set before you blessing and curse. Moses tells the people that he has set before them a blessing if they go the right way, following a life of mitzvah, and a curse if they choose disobedience. Re'eh is in the singular to emphasize that you, each of you has a choice in both matters of right and wrong, and in how you see reality. Two persons can look at the very same reality. One may see in it life and another death. One may see in it challenge and the other despair. The same reality that discourages one person often brings out the best in another. All of life, when you think about it, demonstrates this truth. Re'eh is also identified as the basis for the Jewish understanding of free will. You didn't get to choose your cholesterol score or your genes. However, everyone, according to Judaism, is offered a choice when confronted with any situation. To live is to choose. And one of the great philosophical errors still prevalent in our time is known as moral relativism. The thinking goes like this: everyone is entitled to his or her opinion. There's no right and wrong. What's true to you may be false to me. And there's certainly room for gray in many matters, and it's true that two opposing opinions may be equally valid. Jewishly, an Orthodox affiliated Jew keeping rabbinic kashrut may claim that it's necessary to wait 6 hours after eating a meat meal in order to partake of a milk dish. A conservative affiliated Jew may argue that 3 hours is sufficient. A Reformed Jew may keep biblical kashrut and refrain from pork, or argue that keeping kosher is about something bigger, remembering to give thanks for whatever we eat, and always sanctifying mealtime with a prayer. In the area of ritual, like whether you wish to wear a yarmulke or not, which is a custom, it's not a law, or when it comes to taste in style, it's true, there's no right or wrong. There's even an old Hebrew expression, I'm sure Eleanor knows, beta'am v'reach ein lehit vakeach. It's a rhyming jingle, and it means in matters of taste and smell, there can be no argument. In other words, each person is entitled to his or her own preference. But that's not what the Torah is talking about this week. The Torah's realm is morality. And in the moral realm, there is often no room for gray areas. Certain things are either right or wrong, good or bad. There's no in between. This is what the Torah means when it says, I set before you today A, blessing, and B, a curse. You must choose A or B. There's no C, D, E, or F, because C, D, E, and F are outside the parameters of what's right. It's as simple as A is good, B is bad. That's it. The medieval biblical commentator Sforno put it this way, and I quote, "Be careful that you not become like others out there who create gray areas when the choice is not relative." I think the modern Rabbi Sidney Greenberg states it even better. He says, when you go to a surgeon for a serious operation, you don't want someone who is relatively knowledgeable, relatively skilled. When you need a lawyer to protect your rights, you don't engage someone who is in the gray area between knowing the law and not so well trained. When someone is put in jail for committing a crime, you should not be satisfied knowing that 5 members of the jury thought he was guilty and 4 thought he was innocent. To put it simply, the Torah this week is not talking about taste or preference. The Torah is saying that in most, not all, but in most areas of morality, there is right and wrong, truth and false, good and bad. And the error people make is that in moral issues, whether the basic right of Israel to exist, the killing of innocent people, or sex trafficking, there's no room for C, D, E, and F. No one can say that maybe Hitler was right, maybe he was wrong. It all depends on your point of view. Or maybe intentionally murdering innocent people or assaulting police, maybe they're wrong, maybe they're right. It all depends on your point of view. Intentionally attacking civilians and the most vulnerable in any society, the Torah says, is always evil. And so too is the invasion of Ukraine 3.5 years ago. We have members in our congregation who are heartbroken over relatives surviving an invasion overseen by a mass murderer who has watched over the poison deaths of political opponents, the kidnapping of children, the raping of women, the bombing of schools and hospitals. And I told one of our Ukrainian Jewish families, the Torah says, just condemn that. Don't try to explain it or condone it or defend it. Now, of course, life in America is not filled with those daily kinds of scary decisions, but life does present you and me with ongoing choices every day between right and wrong, good and bad, truth and false. So that's why God says this week, I set before you today good or evil. Take your choice. I want to close. Taylor will be reading from the prophetic Isaiah Haftarah. And this I close with. The setting is that our ancestors were preparing spiritually to return to the land of Israel, but they needed assurance because our ancestors saw themselves, the Jewish people, as a boat being tossed about in like a hurricane, a terrible storm. And the storm, Isaiah says, will someday end. The boat, which is the Jewish people, will come to a safe harbor, but it's not a geographical homecoming only. It's a spiritual one, Isaiah says. And what will be required to arrive at safe harbor? Distinguishing right from wrong. That's what Isaiah says. Defending justice. Giving instead of taking. Only then will there be shalom ba'olam. Shalom in the world, shalom for Israel, shalom for America, shalom in our homes, shalom in our lives. Amen.